all the compliance and the things that you'll have to do to get into the new system, they keep telling you it's a new system because the old money is going away. Let me talk to you for a second about Durum wheat, Saskatchewan. I had a couple subscribers on YouTube and also in Patreon talk to me and say, Durum wheat stranded. So I started to look into it, and here's what's going on in Saskatchewan. I know it's not like the entire world's durum wheat supply, but if you start to add these factors together, France is having difficulty with their durum wheat this year, as well as Germany. Ukraine's not growing very much, obviously, they're in the war. Russia's on its periphery edge where those grain growing zones are, where the borders of Ukraine are with Russia. Those are not going to be super productive either because they were in the war area, and the manpower that a lot of the farms we're running with have been, well, sent away. So the wheat production on the durum side, I'm not talking about white, hard, red winter or anything. This is just durum. So in Saskatchewan, southwest of Saskatchewan, I did not know this. This is the 9th year of drought they've had, and this is by far the worst year ever. 2,000 acre plot. I was walking this one guy. He had a 3rd generation farmer. It's the first time they've ever had to write off an entire crop. 2,000 acre area. So they had to write that off to 0. So they're not allowed to, this is the whole saddest thing, is like looking at the farm, there were still some harvestable acres in there. But because the crop insurance pays for it all, you're not allowed to harvest it and then sell any of that in the market. You got to till it all under. So even though there's usable food and usable grain still left in there, not allowed to harvest it and use it in any way, shape, or form. But the thing is, yeah, you have to scrap all the food, even if there's still like say usable, harvestable acres in there. Just destroy everything. So Southwest Saskatchewan, 9th year in a row. Now Alberta and Saskatchewan, you know, big grain producers in Canada. So they've been having these weather woes, I should say precipitation woes, for years and years and years on end. So the government is now the only player left in town for crop insurance, apparently. After the 3rd year, most private insurers pulled out, co-op organizations, anything associated with ag that was not required or forced by law to stay there, they all pulled out. So the crop insurance is all just government now. There's no other option for it, and you know how governments are, they're not all too generous, so expect some of these farms to go out of business this year. Now on the durum side of it, you know, Canada's struggling, we're struggling. You got Europe with its woes, and then you go all the way over through, like I say, the Ukraine and Russian Urals area, that they're having difficulty there too. So you would expect durum prices, and this is like the wheat that they use for noodles and pastas and things, to go up. Now, is it the entire world ending? No, it's not for all the entire wheat crop. It's just for durum wheat, but it's a distant early warning. And no, I didn't see any walnuts off that tree yet, and I just don't see any up there. Usually you see them hanging like Christmas tree ornaments. There'll be a ton of them up there. That's how generally I'll walk through the woods and kind of in front of me look up at the tree canopy and see if there's any walnuts there hanging up. Because when you do, there's like thousands of them on the tree, and generally you go below. I don't know, they're a little difficult to get cleaned out, so I've been trying to practice a few techniques, none of them really too successful to get all that out, but I guess I need one of those nutcrackers at the end. We'll see, you know, another year, another time to practice. Think about it. Banks, billionaires, and countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's how generational wealth is passed down. Don't wait until the headlines confirm what's already happening behind closed doors. It's time to protect what you've built. Noble Gold's precious metals specialists are standing by to answer your questions and walk you through every step. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold or silver that you can put in your hands or into your retirement account. And for a limited time, offer silver bonus. 1 10-ounce silver flag bar plus 1 silver American Eagle approved coin for new qualified accounts, IRA, or cash purchases. That's 2030gold.com. And with half the world moving to a gold-backed currency, you have to wonder what's going to happen in the future. That's 2030gold.com, or click on that link in the description box below. So a substituted food source, yeah, walnuts. Acorns never really turned out too well, too much tannin, even though we tried to rinse and wash them, do them like 3, 4, 5 times. It's still just because, too bitter, the tannins. I mean, 10 times, maybe something, I guess it would have to go up to. So trying to wild forage, it sounds great and everything. And there's, you know, blueberry bushes in the next video. I'll take you up next to some hackberry bushes and whatever. But to really wild forage and be able to get nuts out of there, you know, hammers, they're just not efficient. I'm gonna tell you right away, cracking nuts by hand with a hammer, you're gonna lose a lot of meat. You're gonna get a lot of like microfine bits of meat and shell in there together, unless you're put into water to try to separate that stuff out. And a wild forage in nuts is it's an art form is the best way I could put it. So when you start to think about all these things that are going to be costing more, you know, can you find a substitute for durum wheat for your pasta? That's the question. So what about everything else that's going up in price? I know we don't eat a lot of oranges on a regular daily basis, but you know, anything citrusy is just ridiculous. Going off, the losses are tremendous from last year. This year, you know, it takes a while to get, you know, orchards back up and running. It's not like, you know, 2 weeks later and you replanted seed like you would with lettuce or something. The caps. Maybe I'll move over here. It's a little more in the shade, easier to see. Oh, there we go. Now these are definitely non-edibles here. Don't touch these with a 10-foot pole. Oh, did I knock that one? I broke that one a little bit, but you can see the gill structure in there for sure. You definitely don't want to touch these, anything for edibles, not edible. And if you look at you can see the gills down here pretty easily. You don't want that. Beautiful day out here, trying to get just sending in a little bit of color and happiness because this world is so strange these days. But I would encourage you to think about alternative food sources, like what you consume as a regular staple right now. Like how would you be able to change that into something a little bit different? But I got wood mushrooms right here. I was saying that we got a lot of wood mushrooms. These look a little dry for me. Even the newer ones on the bottom, they still look a little dry. Could be turkey tail or false turkey tail. Well, time of day has changed. Sunset. Walking down a little road here. Gravel path, if you will. Just wanted to talk about the economy for a minute because think about that gravel path. It reminds me of roads or infrastructure not being repaired, taken care of. Again, you ask yourself, like, why did it be allowed to go to such like decrepit, I guess, state? Because think about how proud we were in America of the highway system that was put in the 1950s. It was the only one like it in the whole world. Spider webs here. Out in the field off the apple trees. But that was like the pride of the nation at that time, to have the world's largest transportation system that could move goods and armies, and it was something that was celebrated. You know, ribbon cuttings, but on a grander scale. And now it's all in shambles. The lock system, the roads, you see how terrible those are in some places, not all. There are actually some really good road sections left, but there's more than a bunch of terrible ones as well. That was completely unacceptable as I was a kid growing up. You might complain a little bit about it, but they were better kept. And think about the bridges too. Always hearing about bridges cracking, falling down. But I would ask, why aren't we even reforesting our towns and, you know, new municipalities and that sort of thing with fruit trees along every street in every neighborhood like we did in the 1950s? You know, I watched that video and put it up also in Patreon about the 20 different fruits that they had taken away from most of the American public right after World War II in the 1950s and gotten us off the Victory Gardens at the same time. So it was 20 fruits that were used for the last couple hundred years, you know, as settlers that had coming over and then gotten used to being on the land, on what was forageable and not. Like all those fruits were used. And the first peoples before that, like as far back as any stories go, they were using those same and eating the same fruits. So why aren't we putting fruit trees everywhere along our streets and giving away fruit trees for free to reforest our yards, to turn them back into fruit producing and food producing spaces for everybody instead of just green grass and that's all you have? I leave this out here for the pollinators through the different seasons from spring up to the summer to now into the coming into the autumn. You know, you get different field. Like this is the most robust with the color and the yellows, but you know, in the beginning of the year, it's all white flowers and different types of white blossoms coming out on the trees as well. I could barter you some of this produce coming out of here. You know, maybe I could make some tinctures out of the flowers or something, but generally our economy runs on money. And if you notice, it's changed. Again, the reason I was talking about the highway system earlier was we've just stopped paying for it. Why? Unless you know that the ROI pushing the money in because it's going to get destroyed anyway, something like that is the reason that our highway system wouldn't be repaired, and the bridge systems and the lock systems and the dams. Like how many dams have we seen have outlived their usefulness and they just destroy them? They don't try to replace them. Well, now the replacement is solar panels. Oh, great. You wanted to let the salmon go back up the river after you dammed it off for 80 years. And now you got to replace the desert and cut our forests and cover our farmlands with silicone flatness, reflecting heat wherever it is, creating its own ecosystem damage, just like the locks did. Now we're just, like I say, every time it turns to a different energy system. Hydro, nuclear, okay, now we're coming into solar and wind, and they're both doing a tremendous amount of damage. Maybe we could just see it faster than if you dammed up the river back then because it was so wild in so many places. But even that, you know, they're trying to get us to new energy systems. The energy system's changing, the way that we are allowed to move around the planet is changing. The way we're going to interact with money is changing. And I would challenge you to ask, and I don't have all the answers either, I'm just asking the question about what's the reason that we're being forced to go through so many more hoops and hurdles just to be able to transact with money? We had the paper dollars, we had the credit cards, they worked fine for 40, 50 years. I mean, the cash and gold, silver much longer, but credit cards is a new payment instrument. Online, the apps, all that stuff, great, it still works. But suddenly they want you to do an entire new layer of, you have to do this or you can't interact into the new system. Now, why is that? Why is that changing so fast? And they're already telling you, A, it's a new system, right? All the compliance and the things that you'll have to do to get into the new system, they keep telling you it's a new system because the old money is going away. So see, for me, this is just a validation that they're not repairing anything on the highways, locks, or any of these types of areas, that the money will change into a different form and commerce is going to be generated in a completely different way. We're not going to rely on the highways. We're not going to rely on some sorts of waterborne shipping because unless it's the grains, nothing. It just seems like it's such a change that they're planning for the complete constriction of trade based on the things that the governments are not repairing around the world. Like they're not repairing the highways. Like I say, there's that whole list of just like incredibly robust critical infrastructure. Like if you take dams away and just don't maintain them, what happens? Like right now, if I give you cash, it doesn't cost me anything really to give you the paper. It's cash. There's no transaction fee. They're not going to charge you an extra penny at the register to take cash. Like, you know, we got to charge you a penny because paper's moving. Like that just isn't done for cash anymore. But every transaction you make on this new digital system inside the stable coin ecosystem, central bank digital currencies, whatever it is they're going to require a usage fee. There's going to be a fee with every single transaction. Like every transaction is going to have a fee. Everyone. There'll be no more feeless transactions at all. And see, they want to tax it too at the same time because they can pull it directly out. It's programmable money. If